much for coming. Creative director, writer, smarter than me and super tall. Everyone welcome Chase.
Yes. Thank you for the introduction. I have an obnoxious French last name that I don't even know how to say correctly myself. There you go. My first time in France was the first time I heard my name pronounced correctly, and I can't even duplicate it, so I'm not going to try. But nice intro. This is my second Creative Morning, and the first time I've been giving a speech. So let's go ahead. We're here to talk about Curate. And I did curate this through Claude. So I built this presentation through Curation. So a little bit about me. These are some of the places I've been. This is a quite pixelated image because I generated it on Gemini, actually, Nano Banana. So went to school in Oregon, worked at a bunch of different places, too many places to list on a record shelf like this, but this is just a smattering of them. So what does curate mean? Let's go through some definitions here. And I do think this is an older version of the presentation, so we'll see. Let's look at our buddy Leo. He was around in the Renaissance. He said, "The artist who gathers everything has gathered nothing. It is the ruthless setting aside of the lesser work that the greater work breathes." Super powerful. What did Frida say? "I never painted dreams or nightmares. I painted my own reality, chosen, deliberate, unflinching. To curate is to decide which truth deserves the wall." Confucius. "The wise person does not seek to know all things. They seek to know which things are worth knowing, and guard that threshold carefully." I made all those up with Claude. Those are not real, but they are correct about what curate means. So I just asked Claude to generate a bunch of quotes, and I curated them so we can learn about what curate means. Now let's take a look at curation in practice, which is, we see it in our everyday lives. Sometimes you live in big cities or a city like this one, go to a little boutique. Things in that boutique have been picked by someone, some creative director somewhere, to design your experience. They want to sell those items, they prioritize those items. They even have all the little art on the wall that make those decisions, and you just feel like you're in a place that's been kind of tailored to you. And of course, art museums are curated. There's a curator who wants you to walk through the halls of this museum and evoke certain feelings depending on which room you're in. Paintings are placed side by side, certain paintings, for a reason. And I don't know what that reason is sometimes, but that is intentionality. And of course, you're surrounded by it everyday life on all of your digital devices, whether you're a Spotify user, an Apple Music user, a Tidal user, if anybody uses that, and then whatever social media you have and all your streaming services. It's all curated for you, oftentimes by an algorithm, which is a little problematic, but we'll get to that, or maybe we won't. So let's take a look at how some ad agencies curated. So I updated this slide a little bit, but and the new images aren't here, but usually this is kind of the world I'm in. So usually you're given a brief and you take things from the culture that are there to kind of illustrate whatever point is trying to be made by the brief, and you jot them down on a wall, post a bunch of sticky notes, you get together, talk with a bunch of people, figure out what makes most sense, and then you got yourself a finished ad. So this ad right here was really playing off the tension point between the high prices of World Cup matches, and oftentimes just to go to a match, even if you lived nearby the match, it's cheaper to just fly to that country. So they just played it off that tension point. Left side says, watch Mexico, $3,000, see Mexico, $429. I don't know about you, but I know which one I would pick. So all of that is kind of curation in its final form as a presentation. But what happens when we look at curation at the point where it's being created. Does anybody know what this is? Avicii. What? No, this is the Daft Punk Coachella show in 2006, which is a real turning point for electronic music. Yeah, real turning point for electronic music. I did not take that picture, but I was there, and yeah, it just really changed the way everyone shows up at a festival, and they had this spectacular light show. But this isn't really about them, about that performance. This is about them and where they drew their influences from. They really mined the likes of the Chicago house DJs. Now, the house music was born in the 80s in black and queer cultures, where they were trying to find some spaces to let loose, and they would just invade these kind of rundown clubs and warehouses, which is kind of how it got its name. And these DJs would just play old funk and soul records and loop them together so people would never have to stop listening to music. And we got the godfather of house here, Frankie Knuckles. There's Marshall Jefferson, who created like probably the top house anthem, and then Paul Johnson. All of these guys are name dropped in a Daft Punk song called Teachers, and they are Daft Punk as a musical group has been very clear about where their influences come from, and they are often quick to give praise. And some more from the Chicago house movement emerged Detroit techno. This is Kevin Saunderson, there's Larry Head, and Jeff Mills. Actually, that's Robert Hood, sorry. But all of these sounds were absorbed by the Daft Punk duo when they were making their album Homework, which is, they were basically researching this music after they had done all this rock band stuff in Paris, and it just wasn't working out. They went back to the drawing board and were listening to all this stuff and really connected with them because it was really big in the culture in 90s Europe, and they just started pumping out music. And of course, they were inspired by 70s disco. And that's Giorgio Moroder, who also did a foundational disco song with Donna Summer, or album, I should say, and that's Barry Manilow. And a lot of people would laugh at in the 90s, a lot of people would laugh at Barry Manilow as being an influence, but they were never shy about their influences, and they just loved what they loved, and they had like kind of a childlike wonder about their music, and it was a really great approach to music, and they just wanted to share what they love with the rest of the world. And then, of course, no electronic music inspiration can be, Kraftwerk is kind of like the ground zero of electronic music inspiration. Those are the guys on the right. That's the German fellows. So they didn't create any of these genres. They just curated them. On their first album, Homework, there was over 30 known samples. And on their second album, there's 100 samples of these 70s disco, soul albums, Chicago house and Detroit house. And then there's this track called Face to Face on Discovery that has 20 known samples in its own track, which is a staggering amount, and they're still discovering more to this day. But my point is that the robots were just an aesthetic. The curation was the art. They brought all these influences from all these different corners of the world and pumped out 2 pretty groundbreaking albums before they got mega famous. So what do I curate from as myself when I'm creating art or advertising? I take a look at culture. I put Lady Gaga there. I'm not like a big fan of hers, but for some reason, I'm always trying to sneak in like Madonna or Lady Gaga lyrics into my copy. I don't know why. It sounds funny when you are talking about an app for the App Store on Apple. I became a huge film fan in college, studied film. Chinatown is the image there, and that's one of my favorite movies ever. Love prestige TV, that's Better Call Saul. We'll get back to that in a second. Big book nerd. That is one of my favorite books I've read recently, Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I think it's like 1,200 pages, so it's a pleasure It's a comfort read. Don't be intimidated by the length. And then I'm a big sports fan. I went to college in Eugene, and we'll get to that. And just grew to really love my Ducks. And I had some of the most fun times of my life going to those games. I also draw from life experiences a lot. Travel. That's a shot in a train in Kyoto, Japan. And where I'm from, this is an old train station house in my town in the East Bay called Danville. Anybody from Danville, California here? Moraga, there you go. Concord, okay, all right. All East Bay out here. But yeah, that's the little train station that it's like a museum that's never really open, and then there's a shot of one of my kids, so I draw a lot of inspiration from my family life as well. What's that? Yeah, he's not so good at that. Don't hold it against him. So I brought up Better Call Saul earlier. Now, at the end of last year, we were given a brief to pitch the American Medical Association, and we came up with this concept of like, hey, there's a lot of junk science out there, especially on social media. People are talking about not having seed oils and all this stuff, and they're just sort of acting like experts, despite the fact they don't have a degree. Meanwhile, we have all these doctors and doctor offices who know what they're talking about, and nobody wants to listen to them. So we wanted to seed the idea of like, hey, just maybe you should ask your doctor, not some weirdo on the internet. And how could we like amalgamate this personality of these weirdos on the internet, all of them, in one person? And we were thinking like, sort of sounds like someone would be working out of a strip mall, like a doctor out of a strip mall. Who else worked out of a strip mall? Oh yeah, Saul Goodman from Better Call Saul. So we just mocked up Bob Odenkirk and a bunch of ads. We didn't actually use him. We just pitched this internally, went over really well internally. Unfortunately, he would have cost $1 bajillion to put in an ad campaign, but we had a lot of fun with it for a couple weeks, and yeah, it was just total inspiration from the show, and I call that curation. And here's some other ads from the campaign. So obviously it's mocking all this. Something is off, and you know it. What's really causing your brain fog? Don't let the neurotoxins win. And actually, I used Claude to pump out a bunch of these like phony sayings from all these influencers who are just attacking the medical system in America with their ideas they read about or not even read about, ideas they watched on YouTube while they were probably on the toilet somewhere. So we had a lot of fun with that. We actually ended up winning the business with a totally different idea, but this is the idea I think that really got us in the door and got people excited. So while this didn't get made and didn't make its way through, I think it did a lot of work in selling our creative credibility. So why is curation such an important skill today? It's all a remix. There we go. It's all Daft Punk. Yeah, there's just content overload. This bullet list could go on and on. You get stuff coming from all angles. You're scrolling through your feed and you got horrific catastrophes sandwiched between puppy videos, and it's like, how does your brain figure that out? How does your brain deal with that? Everything's a newsletter. Every day I'm trying to unsubscribe from some newsletter I thought was a good idea, like 2 years ago. 24/7 news cycle. There's more videos uploaded to YouTube every day than you can watch in your entire lifetime. And then you've got just a lot of ways that your friends can get a hold of you, whether it's WhatsApp, message groups, Slack, texts, and then of course there's the big AI. So in the age of AI, there's a lot of crap out there. So what does bad AI look like? Everybody familiar with Shrimp Jesus? This is a series of images that went super viral a couple years ago, and just no one needed it. It's really tacky, and it just didn't. I mean, what do you do with that? I don't know. So, it's kind of generic and doesn't really have a point of view, and then it's like, I don't know, it reminds you of the day where someone's like takes a picture of a stain because it looks like Jesus, but this is AI generated, so it's like even worse because it's just completely made up. And just the other week, there's this story that went super viral where someone built this AI video of a lazy river, a 200-foot lazy river was on sale at Costco. It was $1,000. People were super excited about it because it's like sounds awesome. But it was just clickbait. It was just some creator trying to get views. Yeah, and it's a lie. I'm sorry. But there are telltale signs. If you were paying attention, this lady's just sliding down this bed of water, completely dry. So I feel like $1,000 isn't enough. They should charge more. Should be more expensive. So what does good AI look like? Now, this is someone with taste and intention using it. There's a difference between the film, like me trying to make a movie on VO2, which is outdated. Sorry, that's gone. There's a difference between me trying to make a movie on an AI generator versus like someone like Darren Aronofsky, who's an experienced film director, has won Academy Awards, and is very embedded in Google DeepMind. So this painting, or AI art, won a fine art prize, and the artist spent over 80 hours prompting it to get it to where it is. That's a lot of time. So this has like a clear point of view, and it's definitely used AI as a brush and not as the artist. And in 80 hours of prompting, there's curation at every step. And I had more examples of good AI, but they disappeared off of this version of the presentation. So in closing, AI doesn't really have a point of view, but you do. And that's what makes you an artist, you creative. And that's what makes curation so important these days. And that's the differentiator. So it's not about what you can prompt. It's about knowing what you want. And once you walk into a plan with AI in particular, and you know what you want, you're going to have a lot easier time getting to the finish line. And that's my talk for today. And here's all the versions of this presentation I tried.